Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 7 of Two Shots in the Ball. This week, we're going with something new, the AUS Pros edition. And first week, we're starting it off with a bang. The pride of the North Side, and now TK Hannover. Here's a couple of career stats for the one and only Hannah Brown. It's 99 games played, 1,194 total points over 5 years, 26.4 points a game in her 5th year. Incredible. 692 total rebounds. The pride of the Cape Breton Capers. How you doing, Hannah Brown?
Happy to be here, Neil. Happy to be here.
Fantastic.
How many shots did it take to get 26.4 points per game? I need to know.
You're shooting well, 46%. So.
Well, okay.
Yeah, so she was efficient. How are you guys doing? How you doing, Adam?
Good, man. Good. This is a nice new series for us. It's going to be a big start.
Hiking day, great weather so far. How you doing, Matt? You must have had your hiking shoes on today.
Ooh, yeah, today was great. Yesterday I actually got out for a round of golf. So the first day it was open here, got out. It was great. Had a great time.
Under 3 digits?
Oh yeah. I play with Bill Burns, my former coach here from CBU, and he always says that my claim to fame is that I almost beat him. So
you can't beat that man. He's a stud.
No, he's a stud. The first round of the year, he was 3 birdies, 3 bogies, even par for the round.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he's crazy.
This guy's a golfer.
So good. Yeah. So I kept up for a while, but I couldn't. I was 5 shots behind yesterday.
Referees everywhere cringe at the hear of Bill Burns' name.
Exactly. Well, listen, I got to kick this off because I got the first question.
All right, crank us
Uh-oh.
There's so much. Everybody's watching The Last Dance. Michael Jordan, how he used all of this, all of these made up things, or like all this motivation that built up over time. Hannah, let's go back to the beginning of all this and tell everybody the truth about how this all got started by the first and only coach that ever cut you. And that's what started this whole career, right? So let's tell this story. That's true, right?
I wasn't going to bring it up, but it definitely is a touchy subject. First coach to ever cut me from a team, Matt Skin, top left corner.
No.
My heart.
I think we're looking for a new host on this show, Hannah.
Get rid of him. But I got to tell you, bottom left made it even better the next season. Playing U14 with Adam and Quad. He was at the end of the bench. He was the one, like, when the wheels would come off for me, I'd come down to the end of the bench and Adam be like, sit down.
The therapist.
And he would just, like, stir up something good for me.
What is this team you get cut from? This needs to be clarified.
Tell the story.
ENS, under 15, cut me.
Okay, let's clarify some things, though. She was 12, trying out for the under 15.
Basically.
All right, that's a reach.
12. Okay.
How many other pros on the team now?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you're right. I'm not saying that I was incorrect. I'm just saying she was 12, and I definitely made her cry. And I had a great talk with your mom and you afterwards, but man, there's some things that some people don't let you forget, and that's one thing for sure that she never lets me forget.
Anytime we got on the bus, I'd be like, little chip on my shoulder with Matt Skin up there. The one and only
It's true.
cut me from the team. But definitely, it worked out, Matt. It worked out. It was that little motivation that I had in my back pocket if I needed it. It's like, Matt cut me.
Reach down and get it. Late 4th quarter. Think about
But that's the guts factor, right? Like trying out for a team, at 12 years old.
Oh, legit.
Right? And like, that's one thing. Like, people are watching you now, see you be an awesome person. Anyone who knows you knows you're an awesome person. But then to be able to flip the switch and just want to come and cut somebody's throat on the court is what distinguished you, right? Like, you don't get 26 points per game in the AUS by not, kicking ass, taking a few names, and being tough as bootleg, right? Like, it's like you embrace that, but admittedly, we've all seen you through the youth stages. It took a little while, right? Like, talk about embracing that mentality over your career.
Absolutely. And for me, the challenges that I've faced throughout my career, the lessons that I've learned, those were the things that fueled me and made me want to be better. If I got things handed to me my entire career, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I wouldn't have gotten 26.4 points per game. I wouldn't have done the things that I've been able to do if it weren't for those challenges, if it weren't for the people like you guys, like the Matts of the world who got me, the Adams who built me up, like you guys built me up and made me a better player. So, you're right. It's hard. It's hard to hear no. It's hard to feel like you're not good enough. It's hard. It's challenging. But at the end of the day, I did what I love to do. I continue to do what I love to do. So quitting was never an option for me. Like I needed to overcome it. And I'm thankful for it because the lessons learned through sport along the way were things that I hold most to my heart. I'm most proud of all the lessons that I've learned and the people that I've met. So yeah.
Take us back. I know the story's been told and, obviously I know the story well, but for people who are watching, take us through the whole process for you of obviously making that decision of going to CBU and playing there and, growing up and watching the team, et cetera. Tell that story a little bit about, how it kind of all evolved for you and worked out the way that it did.
Well, for me, playing basketball was never something that I wanted to do initially. I had to choose between being a girl guide or being a basketball player, and I chose girl guides. And mom put me in basketball because she was like, you're going to be tall. We need you to do something with it. You got to do something. So I started off being enrolled in these Capers camps. And, I walked into the gym and it was so colorful and nice. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And just to be around the players over the years, I never really watched the NBA. I always, my idols were the Capers. I went to every single game, made sure that I was a huge support system, front and center. I had one spot that I always sat at during the games. And that was my standard. That was where I wanted to go. So for me, when it came down to it, came down to working hard and finally being in a position where I could, play university basketball and ultimately reach my goal. It was hard. I weighed out other options, of course. I weighed out the idea of, going and playing in different schools and stuff. And while they were crazy opportunities that I never thought were there for me before, I follow where I feel the most pride. So for me, I felt most pride in being a Caper and being part of it. And I already knew Fabe and Doug as coaches, they coached me my entire life. So it was kind of, at the end of the day, I had to follow my heart. And that was the best choice for me because I really take a lot of pride. And I feel what's really important for me is to be able to connect and have a background, have a story associated with it. So I had that story with CBU. I knew my coach already. I already connected with him over the years. He helped me progress as a player and develop. So for me, it was emotional and important for me to follow that. So yeah, at the end of the day, I'm super proud and super happy that I made that choice to become a Caper. And I learned so much. There were so many, I always say lessons learned, but I learned so much being a Caper. So yeah, it was kind of a no-brainer for me.
So impressive. And I've got a couple of young cousins over on the north side. What's the process here to get to the AUS? When does Fabe start sniffing around? What's the deal there? What's the minor system in the north side that's been able to push out these fantastic basketball players?
Well, for me, I was around some pretty great coaches, and basketball on the north side in particular was where I learned so much. I was in several camps. The local high school team made sure that we were progressing, and the high school coach was progressing younger players, and I got to be on different rep teams and stuff. So the development was always there. I kind of learned and grew through playing locally. So I was really lucky to have some really talented coaches that kind of pushed me along the way. Yeah, like I was just lucky.
You're at Memorial, and Fabian gave you the call. How did that go?
Well, yeah, like I said,
you were there at CBU. Yeah.
Yeah, like I went to several camps and stuff, and always like kind of knew Fabe as the head coach of the women's team, and like it was my goal obviously to play there someday. And he said to me, I remember the first time I walked into the gym, he like came out of his office and he was just like, "Who are you?" kind of thing, because I was so tall for my age. And he was like, "When you grow like this big," and he like put his hand above his head, he was like, "and you work really, really hard, like you can be a caper someday. You can play here someday." So to me, it was like, like the be all and end all for me to get that chance to do that. So that's why I went to the camps. That's why I developed. That's why I was like out my driveway, like working on my game and stuff. So I got that call, and it wasn't really a call. It was kind of, he came up to me at the gym when I was like 12 or 13 years old and reminded me once again, like, keep working. And, he would follow me throughout my junior high and high school career. So he was always there. He never really, came in at one point. He was there throughout the whole thing. So that's what made it probably even easier for me, is we had that relationship already.
And I think the cool part about it, we hear a lot about, particularly on the men's side, a lot of people leaving Nova Scotia for prep schools, trying to take all these alternative paths to become pros, all very legitimate. But the great part about your story, you grew up in North Sydney, you used the local system in Cape Breton, you used the basketball Nova Scotia system, played all the way through, got to Canada Games, showcased yourself there, and then played your career at Cape Breton University. And then what did that translate to? Becoming a professional basketball player. So there's a certain pride in Nova Scotia basketball is being celebrated more and more and more. But how cool is that to say you're truly homegrown from start to finish?
Yeah, that's what makes me feel most proud. I was actually talking about this today because there's a huge stigma around younger players. And like you said, the need to, find that exposure and go off and like go to these prep schools, and that's your way in. And I hear stories of like people telling like younger people that, this is a step that you need to take in order to be recognized and all of this stuff. And it's like, it just takes away why you do what you do, that you feel at a loss because you don't have the resources to get to a prep school. You don't, you just feel like you're behind the game, but you can do it locally. You just need there are so many resources now and social media, like you don't need to technically like get that exposure. Just keep working on your game and people will find you, right? I remember sitting in Len Harvey's office. He was my coach for basketball Nova Scotia. He coached with Matt and Adam.
But he's getting far too much press in this podcast, by the way.
Is he?
Please continue. Please continue.
A little bit.
So you're sitting in the office. I'm
sitting in the office. He used to be a teacher. He taught English. And I went to his office in the mornings and we just chatted. And we were kind of discussing things. And I've mentioned a couple of things about people looking to get exposure and stuff. And that, like, he got up from his computer screen and he was like, exposure. It's the worst word ever. He's like, if you're good, people will find you. That's how it works. So don't worry about exposure. That's not why you're playing. That's not why you're here. Like, people will find you. If you're good, people will find you. So that was kind of instilled in me and engraved in my head. So ever since I've, heard about like camps that were revolving around exposure and getting people to know other people, I've kind of stirred away from that a little bit. Not that there's no value in it. I absolutely see value in putting yourself out there and being in a good camp, but do it for the right reasons. Do it for development. Don't do it for, I need to get noticed by all these like highly ranked schools and stuff. Like, you can do it locally.
Well, I know, getting to know you over the, last few years, and we talked about all your great individual accomplishments of, going on to be a professional player and, being the MVP of the league and things like that. But, from knowing you and basically just knowing what you were basically willing to do kind of whatever it took to succeed and win. And I know that you really feel that you couldn't do it without your teammates. So take a little bit of time to talk about some of your teammates that you played with at CBU and how they might have challenged you or, the relationships that you built with them over your time here.
Oh, absolutely. There are so many greats that came through CBU, like before and during my time. And the biggest thing was the challenges that I faced. Like coming into my first year, it wasn't a walk in the park for me. And I had to learn through a lot of my players and what they were doing and how they were progressing, and they challenged me in a lot of ways to be better. Namely one, Allison Keogh. She was a huge representative of the AUS, phenomenal player and person. And, we're really, really good friends now, but we were always kind of against each other. She played for a different high school than I did, and we were always like against each other. So to come into my first year and we're teammates, it was an adjustment. Like we're competitive with one another, and she's so talented in the things that she did that she really made me make adjustments in my game, like defensively, scoring around the rim. I just couldn't get away with the things that I could in high school. So it was that every single day, playing against the standard of one of the best in the AUS and having to defend her every single day. Like it was those things. It was in the summertime when it was super hot out and all you want to do is go to the beach, and you get a text from Allison Keogh saying, sprints in the morning, 6 a.m. Perfect. Like you have to go. There's no getting out of it. It's like, okay, if she's doing it, I got to do it. And racing all day. Like that's what we did. We worked with each other to develop and grow. And to me, that's what makes a championship team, like doing the extra things that nobody wants to do. And she taught me that. She helped me grow and develop as a player because of that. You have to kind of step out of yourself and see it for what it really is. Yesterday, we had a Zoom conversation with the championship team we had in my third year. And we were just talking, we weren't talking about the accolades, personal accolades that everybody had. We weren't talking about like the score of the game and how it worked. We talked about the relationships we built and the fun times we had and the not so good times that we had and the tough practices and all of those things that really shaped us into who we are today. So that's the benefit in being part of a team. It's embracing the challenges and working through it together and collectively, and everybody accepting the role that they have and moving towards the common goal. So that's the beauty of being part of a team. And like I said, embracing the next level of playing in the AUS and playing university basketball and developing through players and coaches. So I'm really, I'm a team player. I really, really see so much value in playing a sport, and a team sport especially. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the championship team, something that we like to talk about is, to go back about your first year, it's not easy to walk into the AUS and do really well. But I like to see the evolution of somebody who comes in as a first year and then, has a monster fifth year. As a fan, like, can you explain what it's like to walk in as a first year and, kind of be on the leash a little bit? The fifth years kind of drag you along. All of a sudden you're a third year now. You can kind of help the first years. And now you're a fifth year. You're dominant and you can be a captain and a true leader to teams. Like, how does that work between your first and fifth year, that just the amount of growth facing the top competition in the AUS?
Yeah, well, you're kind of forced early on to know your place, know where you are, recognize. Like for me, it was kind of a hit because I went from, being one of the star players of our high school team and then moving to that next level and realizing, okay, your shots don't matter as much. Like you have to make sure that you're doing the little things that matter, the tangible stats and rebounds. Like those things don't really matter as much right now. You need to realize that, there are things to be improved on. There are things that you got away with in high school that you can't really get away with right now because, like you said, you're on a little bit of a leash. You're in a different system. You need to adjust to the system. So for me, that was really tough. But I'm thankful that I had to go through it because, like I said, it's in the challenging times, it's in the difficult situations that really make you look back and think, okay, I need to kind of reinvent myself as a player. In order to make it in this league, in order to do well and succeed in this league, I need to, like I said, do the little things. I need to make sure that I'm developing my IQ a little bit here. Like I need to just do the things that I never really had to work on as much in high school because I got away with things. So for me, it was like development. And I never really go into a system like being at the top of my game. I always have to step back and learn and observe. That's how I develop best. So it's really important to look at the people that you're around and try to fit it within a system. You can't just assume, okay, I'm going to go and get mine. I'm going to get my stats. It's just not that's not how you have a championship team. It's not how you build team cohesiveness. It just goes against the grain of what your team is really trying to do. So that was something that I had to learn. So, it's the progression over time, realizing that, okay, naturally I need to, like, we're losing this person. So I need to step in and how do I, pick up the slack for this person? And what are the things that I need to do to get there? So for me, that was getting more fit. That was getting faster, stronger, being more effective. For me, I was never really a shooter, but I wanted to become a shooter. I wanted to be the one that would win in a sprint. I wanted to be a fit post player. That was something that was really important for me. So I think that's something that really helped me benefit down the stretch of my career at CBU, because that became a value. I had a chip on my shoulder because when I came into my first year, I remember Matt, he was like, I was telling him about my summer. I had a big CrossFit summer. I'm like, I've been lifting heavy, doing all this stuff. And he was like, did you run though? Like, did you know what I mean? Like, you have to be fit. Like, and I had a hard time running. I couldn't keep up with Allison. Like, it was tough. So I saw that, I learned from that and, became more fit, became faster, developed a little bit more, realized that, scoring on 1 foot, not an option. Got to go off 2 feet or you're getting smashed. Like, there's different things along the way that helped me. So it was a buildup. It was a slow buildup, but I'm thankful that it took that long because at the end of the day, like, I had a great 5th year season and I'm really happy about that. So yeah, I'm happy with the process.
Awesome.
Well, it's neat. Yeah, no, as you say all that, what strikes me is, the support system, and you mentioned in the previous question to that, like, coaches are there, men's coaches are there, Matt has your back, your teammates, all the leaders along the way, and people who haven't been a part of a team sport don't realize that team family, and that word gets thrown around a lot, but it truly has a lot of meaning. Now, my question is, does that make it easier for you to go away when you play pro? Now, like we talked about, you did it all at home. It was all in Nova Scotia, your team, your province, your island, and you got a great family, Rochelle Lloyd, your dad, your mom, you get your sister Rebecca there, played in front of them your whole life. And then you make the decision, bang, I'm going overseas. Does knowing you're going to go into a team family make that just a little bit easier?
Absolutely. I don't think that I would be able or feel comfortable enough to transition like that, move to a different continent, if it weren't for the fact that I would have a support system. And I was lucky enough to know a former player in the AUS, Tessa Stamberger. She played for Dow for 5 years, and I knew her, so I got to kind of connect through her and understand where I was going. And she's like, it's a great place, don't worry, great people, like, you'll be happy. But going into a team environment is extremely important for me, and to have that support system and to make connections. I'm a big person on, like, I really place a lot of value on connecting and getting to know people. So when you do that through a team and you work towards a common goal, it's something that, I find I place a lot of value on. So yeah, it definitely made the transition a lot easier. It's like you're joining a new family. So, and it made it a little bit easier leaving my family and leaving North Sydney for the first time in my life. So
I would say, maybe a good question to maybe wrap up on would be talk a little bit about how the difference between the professional game and university game, and also how the AUS prepared you for your professional career. Because again, just going back to the points we were making, I think there's this notion a lot of times that, U Sports players can't move on to play, or, that's not the best route, but obviously you've done it. And so kind of explain the difference and how the AUS prepared you.
So biggest difference for me, set aside the technical sides a little bit, you're jumping into a team where there are several different age groups. And that's something that I was never really exposed to. I had players who were a little bit older than me, but I had a range between 19 and 33 years old. And you kind of have to treat the older players like they're coaches as well, just because they've been there for longer. They've been around the block. They know, they have that IQ that you get with time, and they have so much to teach you and so much to, like, you have so much to learn from those people. So for me, I cozied up to the older players because I realized, like, I need to develop my IQ a little bit more. I need to have a little bit more of an eye for the game. Like, I can't speak to all of Europe, but I can say that I really had to fall into a system, and where, like, Fabe kind of let us play a little bit. We had a tough system, but there were times where it was like, just do something. So I kind of had to fall into my role. Like I said, you had to fall into a role and realize, like, this person is the one that gets all the shots. This is the one that really deflates the team's energy when she scores and does things. So we need to help her create, because teams are adjusting so quickly to different scenarios and defending people differently. So they have their eye out for this person. So we need to make sure that we deflate their defensive system. Like, having that mindset and that awareness is something that I needed to really adjust to a little bit more, just at that new level. AUS prepared me for pro was that just new people coming in every single year on different teams. Like, you had to read that scouting report. You had to know that this person goes left, take her to her right hand. Like, it's just a new level of play that forced me to realize that there are different ways to shut people down. There are different ways that I need to score around the rim. I can't get away with, like, going off of 1 foot here. I'm going to get smashed. I need to, like, up fake or I'm getting a block. Like, it was those things that helped me prepare. And the talent that we have in the AUS, we do have some very talented players that are really hard to stop. So that was big for me. So I really think that you can do it in Canada. You can play for a really good university in Canada and transition into pro. There are opportunities. I'm a big person on, like, staying within the community and growing within the community, and you can do whatever you want. You don't have to go to the NCAA in order to transition into pro. So yeah, whatever you want to do, you can do it here.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's such a great wrap on that. But I just want to drool for a little second here. What's a day as a pro like? Like, on game day, give me the wake up. What's the pregame meal? Game time? You got to run me through it.
Wake up, pregame meal. So on a driving
German KFC.
Let's go. We can do this. No, but, like, you really have to take care of business. Like, you have to eat right. You have to, like, take your multivitamins. You need to make sure that you're stretching, because a lot of times you're on the road game day. Like, you need to be ready. And it was big for us to make sure that we were fueling our bodies, stretching, like, reading the scouting reports, being focused on it, because, you know, as a rookie, you don't get away with a whole lot. So you need to make sure, like, you're in foreign territory. You don't remember so-and-so from that team. Like, you're new. You're completely new and vulnerable to it. So you have to, like, make sure that you know your stuff and, you know, be ready to go. And a lot of times I wasn't really used to it because Cape Breton was so far away from everywhere else that we would stay the night before. So we'd have, like, that advantage of, you know, getting the rest the night before and not really traveling. So you can't use any external things as an excuse of not playing well, because it's now your job. It's your job to be ready no matter what circumstances you're under. So that was big for me. That was big to just kind of adjust and go with it. And, you know, sometimes things don't work out the way that they're supposed to, but at the end of the day, control the controllables. So yeah, that was the biggest thing for me.
True or false section, one question. Did Coach Adam kick your ass daily pre-practice in shooting competition? True or false?
I don't remember those. I don't remember.
Oh, no, don't remember.
Nice.
Well, you said earlier you weren't really a shooter for a while, so that was a good reason. Matt's seen me shoot. So he knows I don't have that stroke. And if I was kicking your ass, that's not good.
No, it must have been it must have been before I cut her.
Oh, man. He goes bruised.
It's true, man. But, I was thinking of some stories today. First of all, I'm so impressed by how much you've grown, man. Like, the things you're saying here, there's literally NBA professionals who don't have their heads screwed on the way you do properly, and it's so impressive. But what I think speaks more to that, and the biggest story that stuck out in my mind of how you get loyalty from your teammates and from your coaches, you demand it by that work ethic and by your personhood and by everything you bring. And I remember your last game with BNS Team Nova Scotia. Coach Harvey's coached you for 4 years. You got about 3 out of 4 bogus fouls in the game. It's like we're in like the 7th place, 8th place game, something like that. But you have 4 fouls, and there's about 8 minutes left. And Coach Len leans into the referee and says, if you give 15 her 5th foul, that guy over there, he points at me, is going to have to carry me the F out of here. I'm coming for you. I'm just letting you know. This is in the 7-8 game, people going to bat for you. And I don't know if you heard that one before, but that in a nutshell to me is what a team player is, what a team player demands. And yeah, man, awesome stuff. This was great.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on, Hannah. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. It's an honor to be here with the squad. I love talking with you guys. It's always entertaining.
Fantastic. Well, that's another episode in the books, I think. Thanks so much, guys. It was a great week. And Hannah, just keep on, representing Nova Scotia. We're all so proud of you.
Thank you very much.
Lick out.